You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
All right. So we are back. We're live, going out to YouTube and Facebook. This is the Valley Labor Report. We have on the line now Ross Robertson. He is the president of Birmingham, or the IBEW, Local 136 in Birmingham, Alabama. Brother, thanks for talking to us. I really appreciate it.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Doing good, doing good. Right. So, Ross, first thing, you're the president of the Electrical Workers Union. The RWDSU, the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union, they're the folks that are doing this organizing drive at Amazon. So, why were you out at the rally? Why are you, invested in them winning this fight when it's not your union that's doing the organizing?
Well, as president, I'm involved with the Labor Council also, and I know that the Labor Council was really involved with it. We've got the Central Labor Federation that they had a full crowd down there Saturday, and it's huge. This is a really big opportunity to make a difference. I mean, Alabama has always been a big union state until after the 80s, I guess, when everything started taking a nosedive. But we need to build it back up, and the only way to do that is to try to get representation for these guys is a huge thing, where they get treated better, get better wages and benefits, and just it's a big move right here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, we're looking at a 6,000 person bargaining unit. I mean, when they win, it's going to be the biggest, that's going to have to be the biggest organizing win in decades. I mean, I don't know how long it's been since such a big bargaining unit has been added in one election.
I know it is huge. And, they're trying to keep them down. They're trying to keep them down to where they, they don't feel like, I know it, especially in the state of Alabama, we feel like that we don't have a chance to have a good representation through unions with our quality of work and everything else around through here, because we've been beat down for so long and suppressed. And if this was to make a positive vote on this, then it would change every union in the state of Alabama to where we're looking up. It would make a big difference for all of us.
Yeah, well, speak to that, because that's something that I hear all the time. We're on every weekend on a conservative talk radio station. And so every Thursday morning I'll call into the morning talk show and I've got a segment, and every time we talk about Amazon, that morning show host is just convinced that, one, it's not going to make anything better, and two, if they try to make anything better, Amazon's just going to close up shop, and that it's just impossible for these workers to have good pay and benefits, and that there is no way to make it profitable, that either you take the jobs as they are or they leave. And folks like you and folks like me who've got good paying union jobs, who have good benefits, I mean, we're proof positive that that's just not true. But, speak to that a little bit. What goes through your mind when people say things like that to you about this drive, or no doubt you've heard the same thing many times over the years?
Yeah, this is definitely, it's Jacob, it's a lot more than just a good paying job. It means a lot more than having everything else that's involved with being in the union. This has to do with being treated fairly. That is the biggest problem down there at Amazon right now, is they're being treated like robots. I mean, there's no human effect there with them. And the contractors and the companies that are doing this have gotten away with it for so long because they keep you under your thumb, and they try to keep it to where you're job scared, that if you don't do what they tell you to do, they'll run you off and find somebody else to put in your place. That is the intimidation factor of it, is the worst thing in the world about having to go to work every day and feel like your job is in jeopardy. And I think with a union vote, they will have some protection. They will have some rights as far as having grievance procedures in case something was to happen, as far as, they're actually being limited with their bathroom breaks. Well, there's certain people that cannot be limited with bathroom breaks. If you have to go to the bathroom, you've got to go. Now, in order to meet their quota, they still got to meet their quota. But if you got to go, you got to go. There's nothing that you can do to stop that. Well, if you go too many times in a day, they will terminate you. And that's not fair. That's nothing right about that, because there's medical issues involved. There's different things involved with it that can be, that needs to be addressed. And without any kind of representation from a good quality union, then you have no way to defend yourself. So. Can you hear me? I think I got cut off.
Hey, I'm sorry about that. My mic died. I've got these wireless mics and it died on me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so you said that you were talking about some of the issues that they had on the job, and the rebuttal to that on the part of a lot of folks is, well, just get a different job. I mean, what do you say to that?
That's not the right way to look at it. There's no way about that. That's not the right way to look at it. You've got to look at it as far as you're out there trying to do your job. If you're doing it professionally, you're doing it to the best of your abilities, there should be no reason for retaliation for medical issues, for anything else that's going on, that you do have rights. And as a worker, it doesn't mean that you sell your soul to the company. You've got rights. And if you go out there and do your job and do what you're supposed to do, you shouldn't be antagonized or anything else. It's not the right way to treat a person, much less an employee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when people say that, it really kind of boggles my mind. I mean, people deserve, people deserve dignity and respect, and they deserve a decent amount of pay. They deserve good benefits, and if they're not getting it, I don't understand why the response to that is just go and get a different job. I mean, what if there's not a better job in the area? I mean, what I don't understand, and especially, it's always these people that are like, oh, I hate tyranny, I hate government, I hate authority, blah blah. I like freedom and liberty, and it's like, okay, if you want freedom and liberty and freedom from authority, especially, like, why are you telling these people to just wilt away in the presence of an authoritarian dictatorial regime in the workplace,
Right. Well, you don't want them just to, that's, my stepdaughter worked at Amazon, and she made it probably about a week before she couldn't handle it anymore. I mean, just the way they treated her on the job. They had, it was a strict quota on her. And she's not used to working them kind of hours and the kind of conditions that they were working under. So she ended up quitting the job. They were trying to mess with her scheduling and everything else. And there should be rules and guidelines in place to where all of the questions that come up on the job should be answered in a contract. If they're answered in black and white, then you have no questions about anything. That everything should be addressed. And once it's addressed, then everything should go smooth as silk. They think they've got a good operation down there now. Just think if they start treating their people a little better. Now, they pay them good, but they should pay them a little bit better. Now, Amazon's one of the largest companies in the world, without a doubt, and they make tons of money. They need to share it a little bit and just start treating their employees having better health care insurance and the possibility of a retirement without retaliating against them, especially once they start getting over the age of 30. I keep hearing that number coming around, that once you get to a certain age, they start looking at you like, okay, we got to get rid of this guy before he gets too old on us. that's not the way to treat somebody either. You know, even older people have a place on the job. Now you got to find somewhere in management to probably put them, or somewhere as a team leader, to where that, you know, and you have to protect your older employees also. And that's, you know, that's part of what's needs to be addressed in this union contract. That I think it's going to be a good thing for Amazon and for the employees.
Right. Right. And you know, I mean, they've got good pay as far as, you know, I mean, service industry jobs go, but I mean, warehouse jobs, these manufacturing jobs, I mean, this is the exact kind of work that people, you know, back in the day talk about make America great again. This is the kind of work that people would do, and there would be one income and they could support a family on it. And now we're expected to just accept this kind of service industry, little benefits, and you know, have to have 2 or 2.5 or 3 or 4 incomes to be able to support a family, and we're just supposed to accept that now.
You can't support a family on a $15 an hour job. There's no way around it. You cannot do it, not in today's economy. Everything's kept going up, except for our scale. Now, that's one of Alabama's worst issues, is going after these places that come in here and to start up a business. Now, that's awesome that they're doing that, but they're selling out the workers. You know, it's almost like I've heard it before. I've heard it said before that Alabama is the Mexico of the United States. You know, I mean, they're treating us like slave labor almost. You know, $15 an hour, sure, that's a good pay scale for somebody that's just coming out of high school. Somebody that's trying to raise a family and to thrive and to buy a house and to buy vehicles and to keep everything else rolling. You can't do it on $15 an hour.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. Yeah.
But what do they want? I mean, they don't really, and it's like I said, they don't want somebody to stay there for a career. So that's what you're looking at too with this bunch.
Mm-hmm. And people deserve to have some amount of security and longevity. You know, they shouldn't have to hop job to job to job and get burnt out and just absolutely wreck their bodies. You know, one of the things that you mentioned that some of the organizers on the campaign have told me that was interesting to them is they expected, because of kind of the politics, that the young people would be their base. But actually, it's right the opposite. The older folks are the ones that are their base in this campaign, because the quotas are so much harder on a body that is, you know, older than 25. You know, once you get just a little bit of age on you, these things start to it starts to get really, really hard, and you just can't keep up. Where the young folks right out of high school, you know, they're like da, 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 and you know, they can kind of handle it, but do that for 10 years and see what happens. Right.
And that's not the way to build a future of a company either. You know, my dad was a union electrician. He raised me and my sister with a good living wage that was negotiated through a union contract, through collective bargaining. In this in a thriving economy, you're going to be able to afford to pay your people a little bit more. And believe it or not, our economy is still looking decent. Even though we've had the hiccups with the corona and the elections and everything else, we're still looking good. I mean, we've got to take it to that next level to where everybody can increase their standard of living instead of the top 1%, and that's it.
Especially Amazon. I mean, you know, there's Amazon, you know, like I said earlier, is like the poster child for making a killing off of this pandemic. There is absolutely no reason for their employees not to have a good contract and not to have higher wages, raises, better benefits, you know, shorter hours, like lower quotas. I mean, just the whole kitchen sink. I mean, there's no reason that they can't have it here.
Well, if they were to make a good showing here and they were to show that it can be done, you know, they're building some other warehouses in Alabama, and they're going to have opportunities there to have decent jobs for these. You know, that's one of the biggest problems in the Birmingham area and Jefferson County is crime. We have such a problem right now with crime that it's gone rampant. And the only way to improve that is to give somebody an option to where they don't to a good paying job and have a career and have a good standard of living instead of having to go to the other avenues that you have to do to make a living. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, if you increase that, then everything moves up. Everything. It's all cause and effect. Everything moves.
Right. Right. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, there's so many good knock-on effects from having good paying union jobs. And I mean, to an extent, it would even be good for the company, because if you can get, I mean, you'll have to force them, but if you can force Amazon to actually treat their employees well, you're going to have a certain amount of employee loyalty that you're not going to have. You know, my mom and dad came from an era where, you know, you've got the company man and you get this gold watch after you've been there for 30 years or something, and you get, you know, you get a defined pension plan. And there are people there were people, it was common to be loyal to your company in addition to, if not, you know, in lieu of a union. And if Amazon can be made to do that, they can have more loyal and better workers and a better output.
Well, most definitely. I mean, that's part of the biggest thing about with the IBEW. We have almost 1 million members in IBEW. And in order to have a brotherhood as big as that, you've got to have good benefits, good retirement, good conditions that are offered to the employees, good training, good safety, the whole 9 yards. You know, that's another problem they have down there at Amazon, is the safety issues. They have to be, especially with it going on right now, you've got to have your proper COVID protocol. And that's not, you know, they say it's in place, but it's not. They've got to go by this. And plus, they're working around a lot of equipment, conveyors, and all this other stuff, trucks. They have to wear all the proper safety garments, which they're trying to stick to those guidelines, but they have to do that because, you know, one person being lost out there for an accident is way too many. Mm-hmm. And they've got to look at it like that. And if you're treating your employees like a bunch of robots, then you're not looking at it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Brother Ross, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. You know, just to wrap up, if you could tell us what got you into the union. You know, you're obviously, like I said this with Big Mike on Saturday, you're obviously a true believer. You know, what made you a true believer? What has the union done for you? How did you get into the union, and what has it done for you being a member?
Well, it was an eye-opener to me when I was younger because, you know, like I said, my father was one of the local. He was a business manager, and he never asked me to join. I asked him, I said, I need a job, Dad. I've had one job after the other. None of them were panning out. And he's like, you don't need a job. You need a career. He said, let me get you down there and I'll start you working with me next week. And sure enough, I started working with him that next week and haven't looked back. You know, I've got over 25 years in the IBEW, and I've built up my retirement, my pension. I've got something to look forward to. And with all that being said, it's a lot more to it because this is a family. You know, this is all my brothers and sisters in this local, and we treat each other like such. I mean, we have our picnics, we have our get-togethers. You know, we do all kind of things together, and that's the biggest thing about the IBEW is the camaraderie of all of its members, and that is definitely an eye opener, and it shows that people care about each other, and as long as you care about each other, you know, you're gonna make everything better.
Yep, that's beautiful place to end it on, brother. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys.
All right.